I shouldn't have said yes. The bucket was already off the ground when I realized I had no idea what my left hand was doing. The machine jerked forward, gravel popping under the tires, and the foreman just stared at me from 20 feet away. Easy, he yelled. Not angry, just watching. My stomach dropped. I'd told them I'd run a skid steer before. I hadn't. This was a commercial site outside Fort Worth, Texas, midsummer. One of those days where the air feels thick before 8 a.m. We were clearing and grading for a small retail strip. Nothing huge, but the schedule was tight and the concrete crew was already lined up for the following week. I was 3 weeks in, technically a laborer, mostly hauling forms, sweeping out trenches, grabbing whatever anyone needed, trying to prove I wasn't just some guy who answered a Craigslist ad. The regular operator called in sick that morning, so when the foreman asked, "You ever run one?" I didn't even hesitate. Yeah, I said it too fast. The skid steer was an older wheeled model, enclosed cab, no AC. The vinyl seat was cracked and hot. Diesel smelled thick inside. The controls were hand levers, not the newer joystick setup I'd watched on YouTube the night before. That's what I'd done, watched videos. I figured it couldn't be that hard. It looked simple enough when other guys did it. Smooth, controlled, like they were just nudging it around. But inside that cab, it didn't feel smooth. It felt jumpy. Every small movement translated into a lurch. Just spread that pile along the fence line, the foreman said. Keep it level. Got it, I said. I did not got it. The first pass wasn't terrible. Clumsy, sure, a little uneven, but it moved. I kept overcorrecting. Push left, drift right, pull back too hard, bucket tilt, gravel spills early. My gloves were already slick with sweat. I kept glancing at the mirrors even though I barely knew what I was looking at. Then one of the guys, Lewis, walked by and gave me a look. "You sure you've run one?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. Again. He shrugged. "All right." That shrug felt worse than if he'd laughed. The second pass is where it went sideways. I lifted the bucket too high trying to clear a small dip. Didn't think about the center of gravity. The machine didn't tip or anything crazy, but it rocked enough that my chest tightened. The foreman stepped closer. "Keep it low," he said. "No reason to have it up like that." "Yeah," I muttered. "My bad." He watched me finish the line. I could feel his eyes through the glass. The diesel engine was loud, but inside the cab it felt quiet, like I was alone with my own breathing. At lunch, nobody said anything directly, but I could tell. The guys were sitting on overturned buckets in the shade of the trailer. Someone passed around a Gatorade. Radios playing low country music from a truck nearby. Lewis looked at me and said, "Casual as anything. You from around here?" "I moved down last year," I said. He nodded. "Different dirt here." I knew what he meant. Different dirt, different machines, different pace. I poked at my sandwich and avoided eye contact. After lunch, it got worse. The concrete forms had to be set before end of day. We were behind. "Hop back in," the foreman said. "We need that pad clean." There was no edge in his voice. That almost made it worse. I climbed back into the cab. This time my hands were shaking a little. Not a lot, just enough to notice. The engine turned over, that same rumble, same smell. I told myself, smooth, just be smooth. Halfway through scraping the pad, I clipped one of the form boards. Not hard, but enough to knock it crooked. The guy setting it, older dude named Rick, threw his tape measure down. "Come on, man," he said. Not yelling, just tired. "Sorry," I called out, climbing down. He reset the board without looking at me. The silence from everyone else felt heavy. No one made jokes. No one roasted me. That was worse than getting roasted. I stood there for a second, helmet in my hand. The lie felt bigger than it had that morning. It wasn't just about the machine anymore. It was about trust. Out here, nobody expects you to know everything, but they expect you to say when you don't. That's kind of the unspoken rule. I walked over to the foreman. "Hey," I said. My voice sounded smaller than I wanted. "I need to tell you something." He looked at me, waiting. "I haven't actually run one before. I watched some videos. I thought I could handle it." He just stared at me for a few seconds. The sight noise filled the gap. Nail guns popping in the distance, a backup alarm from a dump truck. Finally, he nodded. "Okay, I figured." That stung. "But," he added, "next time, just say that. I'll show you. No one's born knowing this stuff." I nodded. Rick didn't say anything. Lewis just gave me that same shrug again, but this time it felt lighter. The foreman climbed into the cab and showed me slow. See how sensitive it is? Small inputs. He ran one clean pass, perfectly level, effortless. Then he had me sit in the passenger side of the open door while he explained what I was doing wrong. Center of gravity, bucket height, feathering the controls. It wasn't complicated. It just wasn't instinct yet. He let me try again. This time, slower. Embarrassingly slow. But steady. No jerks, no rocking, bucket low. When I finished the strip, it wasn't perfect, but it was usable. Rick checked it with his level. Better, he said. That was it. Just better. But it felt like a release valve opening in my chest. We wrapped around 5:30. The sun was still high, everything covered in a fine layer of dust. I was exhausted in a way that wasn't just physical. As we were loading tools, Lewis walked past me. "Hey," he said. "The first time I ran one, I drove it straight into a stack of pipe. Didn't tell anyone I didn't know how either." I looked at him. He grinned. "You'll be all right." Then he climbed into his truck and left. Driving home, my hands still felt like they were gripping those controls. I kept replaying that moment in the morning, how quick I'd said yes. It wasn't about ego exactly. It was about not wanting to look useless. But there's a difference between being new and pretending you knew more than you did. I learned that the loud way. Not with yelling, not with a disaster. Just with a crooked form board and a few quiet looks from guys who've been doing this longer than I've been alive. The next morning, I showed up early. Before anyone asked, I told the foreman, "If you've got time this week, I'd like to practice on that skid steer." He nodded. "We'll get you there." No speech, no big moment, just work. I still think about that day sometimes, not because it was dramatic, just because it was the first time I realized that on a job site, people don't expect you to be perfect, they just expect you to be straight with them. If you've ever been the new guy who pretended you knew more than you did, you know that feeling. Drop a comment and tell me what machine or tool you faked your way through the first time. And if you want more real job site stories like this, no speeches, no fake motivation, just hit subscribe. I've got plenty more.